Alright, let's go over the graphite projects. So to start things off with, we're going to do a bark drawing and I'm going to be demonstrating this one. I feel it's a, nice mid-ground sort of project. You can learn a bit about the human torso, well, the buttocks as well, and a lot about the, the form and some subtle planes you can see on the figures actually. So the bark plates often include a kind of map like this, where you can see, how it's been simplified originally when you kind of block things in. It can help you out, you can see some of the relationships that we can see on the human figure, between the dimples here and cheeks here. But yeah, this will be a follow along kind of exercise. If you would like to pick another project, I will put this link in the video description. It links to all the bark plates that you can draw from. And they are actually free to use for educational purposes, even if there is a copyright. So you can just go on there and download those for free. I won't be sharing these because, yeah, that might lead to some issues, but it is actually, legal to use them. Speaking of legal, I don't have actually any information on this model here. It's from the Sketch Daily reference site, which I'm assuming the models gave permission to use their poses on for free. So you could go and get it from this site, or I can just share it for you here. I think the pose I will be drawing is this one. Might be YouTube friendly because it's a back pose, we will see. Hope my video doesn't get flagged, but I will be demonstrating this one. It has mostly light, it's not a whole lot of shadow, no portrait to deal with, just the silhouette. So we can just focus on the drawing itself. So this will be a graphite drawing with no background, so we ignore all of the background. You can also do this one. It has some tricky hands in here, the head position can be tricky for a beginner to get it right. Yeah, I guess, this one is good as well. It has some shadow to work with as well. So that's good. I was kind of in between these ones, but these should be good enough to start from. And before we go into these figure drawings, I will be making a figure fundamentals video where I go over some of the basic principles of figure drawing. And you should definitely watch that and do some of the exercises I recommend before we tackle the graphite figure project. Alright, back to this one, the actual learning goals for this project. For one, obviously we want to learn to use our tools. We want to be precise with the graphite. That's basically graphite's strength. It is a slow medium to work with, but it is extremely precise, more precise than painting or charcoal. You can just put the mark exactly where you want. It stays there. You can make some very crisp, razor sharp lines and you can use those to your advantage to make a nice drawing. Well, some overarching goals for this project is actually to learn patience, diligence, just following the steps regardless of how you feel. Something that is honestly quite required for something like this, because yeah, it does take a while to block in something like this. It might not look like anything at start, you have just some major lines and you just have to keep adding points until you can make out the shape, and then you start checking things and all this kind of stuff. It takes patience, it takes time. You can take it as a sort of meditation. I think that is one of the most important lessons on this project. It's not how this drawing turns out. It is more so about you preparing yourself to actually put work into these drawings and paintings. Okay, so this project, then we want to learn comparative measurement as opposed to site size, which is how the bark drawings are done. You can do it in site size as well, but it's important to learn comparative measurement as well. I feel like that's how we learned it in school. Some schools operate fully on comparative measurement. I feel that will limit you a lot less when you actually eventually work on your own paintings. You don't have to, have a convoluted setup just to be able to produce something nice. You can just look at a thing across the room and then put it in proportion on your paper. So this is a good arena to start working on that skill. We will go over the basics of that later. Alright, well that's for the main graphite project. Next I will tell you a bit about the side projects in graphite that you may want to work on while doing these, or even before doing these.